All right, folks. Oh, excuse me. We are live. This is Chinese Wrestling Sit Down, where we sit down with wrestlers and personalities from within and out of China. We get a more in-depth look into who they are and their unique stories as our focus features here on Chinese Wrestling Sit Down. I am Leung, back again. Hope you guys had a nice Chinese New Year. And yeah, happy belated birthday to my guest for this show, Steve, the ESL teacher. How are you doing, man?
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. How are you tonight? This morning. I
just woke up like, maybe an hour or so ago. So, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Did you do anything special for your birthday?
Well, I'm not really a party guy, and we did a weekend full of parties. So it's been a long one for me.
A long one. Well, ending it off with this interview. Hopefully that's a good thing.
Yeah, so, I stopped early enough. I knew I had this coming.
Well, let's start off with the $1 million question. Well, before that, make sure you guys thank you for watching live on Facebook and YouTube here on MKW Wrestling, and make sure you guys send in your questions for Steve, and maybe we'll answer some of these on the show. So I'm gonna start off with the $1 million question. Are you actually an ESL teacher? I mean, I'm ESL actually, growing up in Canada. Being born from in Hong Kong, and my ESL teachers never looked quite like you.
Yeah, I am an ESL teacher now. I was a standard English teacher for 30 years in America, and I've been teaching English over here in China, ESL, for 3 years now.
Okay, so this Steve the ESL teacher was also something you use in America. You guys. You mentioned you lived there teaching English. Why have you been representing yourself as a teacher in wrestling for so long?
Well, to be honest, when I was training back in CZW 20 years ago, the owner, Zandig, couldn't remember my name, and he just kept calling me Teach, and it kind of stuck. And every gimmick I threw at him, he rejected. So I figured, may as well go with this.
So were you a teacher before Matt Stryker, or was it a bit after? Or?
Yes, I taught. I started probably 10 years before him. I actually taught summer school at the school that he last taught at. Ironically, we were actually supposed to wrestle right before he signed. We were going to do a teacher-teacher match for a group called Old Time Wrestling, which was run by Larry Sharp of the Monster Factory, and that just never materialized.
Oh yeah, did he get in trouble pretty soon after that with the school board or something? So I guess that didn't materialize.
Well, he got in trouble because he used his sick days to go to Japan. But I wasn't on that level, so that was never a problem with me. I'm a weekend warrior. Always was, always will be.
So that's something you wouldn't consider doing? Let's say there's a big show somewhere, and they're like, oh yeah, you got to come during a Thursday or something. Even though there's no wrestling shows on Thursday usually usually on the weekends, but then you got to travel, right? So like, would be something that you would consider?
At this point, yeah, I've worked hard for a long time. I've had multiple jobs simultaneously. I've earned the right to have fun right now. And actually with the blast off shows, a lot of them are taking place midweek over the last one was a 4-day period. So that's something I would never have done back in America.
Okay, hope your employers aren't watching that.
I'm actually in between jobs right now, and that was one of the reasons. Not that particular, just my demands to take more time off.
So before going to China, who are some of your favorite opponents that you face in your wrestling career in the United States?
Well, one of my favorites, of course, was Jimmy Superfly Snuka. I got to meet one of my childhood idols. Billy Gunn, I've wrestled a couple of times. I've actually wrestled 7 different Doink the Clowns. 3 of them did it in the WWE at one point. Nikolai Volkov, I've wrestled a couple of times, and he was fun because of all the stories, not necessarily because of what happened in the ring, but just he's quite a character.
Well, I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't ask this, but 7 Doink the Clowns, I thought there was only two, and then there's some of them were really, regulars. Like, who are the other five Doink the Clowns?
Well, at that point, every indie fed had their own Doink.
Oh, okay.
So I had Bobby Starr. I wrestled. He wrestled in WWE as Doink for a very short period of time, and also Phil Apollo. I couldn't think of the name.
Oh yeah, the other Doink from WWF at the time, right?
Yeah. No Matt Bourne. No no Steve Kern.
Yeah, Matt Bourne was actually wrestling in my area for a while in the Pacific Northwest. So I think I did see him once live when he was working the Indies.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's quite the character too. Yeah, God rest their souls. So I heard in your first ever wrestling event in China, which was for MKW Kingdom Rumble, which you can watch that on YouTube. You met a familiar face in the locker room. Tell us about that and sometimes a small world of professional wrestling.
Yeah, let me go back 20 years. My very first match was on my 34th birthday. Wow, and this is my 54th birthday just a couple days ago. So really 20 years. My first match was in Brooklyn, New York in a Federation LIWF. And the building was called the Doghouse. And that's where people like Low Key, Amazing Red, Homicide all got their starts. And there was a young tag team there. All Money is Legal. I really didn't talk to them much, and I don't really know which one was Pusher and which one was Murder. But I do know that when I got into the dressing room for Kingdom Rumble in Harbin, and I started looking at one of the people in the locker room, and then I heard him mention New York, and I zeroed in on him, and I approached him, and it turns out he's one of All Money is Legal. It's Boofa. So
Boofa.
The very first person who I saw in an American ring or locker room rather, was the first person I came across in a Chinese locker room 20 years later.
So has Boofa changed over the years within the last 20 years, or is he still the same guy?
Personally, I didn't get to talk to him much. Physically, he's definitely changed. He's definitely filled out. He's much thicker. I mean, he must have been 17, 18 years old at that point. And he had a teenager's body, and now he's a man, obviously.
Did he have the boombox back then?
No, but I think he still had the bucket hat.
The bucket hat. Oh, yeah, LL Cool J style.
And I remember they had bandanas with U.S. currency that they wore around their foreheads.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching live. This is Steve, the ESL teacher, and then we have some questions here. I changed the formatting of the questions. It looks a bit different. So from Lamson, wow, crazy story about Boofa. Thank you, Lamson from Facebook. Yeah, keep the questions coming. Were you in CZW?
Steve trained in CZW. My very first match was actually, it wasn't my first match because I did the Brooklyn thing first, and then I came back. They didn't know I was doing matches elsewhere. They put me in a battle royal, and I lasted maybe 30 seconds in the battle royal. And then 10, 12 years later, Maven Bentley was doing this gimmick where he would imitate other professional wrestlers, much like Stryker did for a while, Stryker and Rob Echoes. And he did a charity event where people could bid, and whoever had the highest bid would pick the wrestler he would portray. And whoever this person was, they wanted to see Steve the Teacher. So he portrayed Steve the Teacher, and then he thought it would be kind of cute if he brought me in to do a run-in while he was doing it. So I did get one match out of it.
All right, keep the questions coming. Any more questions? There we go. And Peckham, what is your dream wrestling match? Wow. Don't tell me it's against Stryker.
No. I want Big Sam. That's who I want. That's my dream match.
And what's the reason for that?
Because he's a big, big boy. And I want to show him that we speak the correct English, not whatever he speaks with that queen or whatever she is. That
the Queen's English.
Yeah, and we speak true English in America.
True. What about Canadian English? Canadians are more the best type, I feel. That's
I've wrestled Canadians already. I wrestled Val Venus, and he's Canadian.
Venus. All right, Lamson, wishing you a happy birthday, Steve.
Oh, well, thank you.
What's your birthday wish from Yao Chun Kit?
Truthfully, my birthday wish is to have the opportunity to wrestle in Nepal.
All right. Booker to Nepal, make that happen. Any more questions here? Oh, here we go, Big Sam. My favorite Steve the Teacher moment was when Steve defeated Hulk Hogan at a house show in New York. What was your favorite wrestling moment?
Oh, I think my favorite wrestling moment was when I was wrestling Snuka, and we didn't have time to discuss anything prior to the match, and I had him in the corner, and I punched him in the head, and my inner voice was saying, "Don't sell, don't sell, don't sell." His famous hard head spot.
Hard head,
and
yeah.
he knew exactly what I was doing, and it was for that 10 seconds we were just on the same wavelength. It was a lot of fun. Also, having my nose broken, believe it or not, was fun too.
From Suka?
No, that was Billy Gunn.
Billy Gunn. What happened there?
Good timing there, Harbin Kiwi. I threw him into the corner. I knew it was a turnaround. I thought he was going to roll out of the way of my big splash, and he thought he was going to put up a big boot. And that's exactly what he did. So I came flying nose first, pretty big nose as it is, big target, and right into his giant boot.
Yeah, I'm sure he has big feet.
I don't appreciate how big he really is on TV.
Yeah, he's a big guy now.
Oh my, yeah.
With all those guys in AEW. And going back, did you actually wrestle Hulk Hogan?
Not even close.
Okay.
Not even close. I got to wrestle the guys either on their way up, like Luke Gallows, before he became Luke Gallows. He was still Dorian DeVille at that time. Or on their way down, Billy Gunn, Val Venus, Ivory, I wrestled.
Ivory. So let me ask you a question from me. You've been wrestling for this long. How has the indie wrestling scene changed since when you first started?
I'm going to ruffle little feathers here. I'm sorry, but social media has really, really changed it where everybody's an expert and everyone's a critic, and everyone has an opinion, and they feel free stating it, whether they have no experience. It's changed. I've had my difficulties with marks over the last few years.
So would you say it's more negative than positive with social media? I feel social media is, in a way, there's downside, but there's good side also when it comes to like promoting shows now, right? It's like everyone can just
absolutely,
see clips and stuff like that.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I haven't thought of it, but I would be nothing without Facebook. When I started, Facebook was just starting, and I had people all over the country convinced that I was some great talent, which I definitely am not. But I was pretty good at hyping myself, and I got myself booked in places that I really never should have been at. And when I'm coming out of my car for Rambo's House of Pain and people are screaming, "That's Steve the Teacher," like I'm somebody, I created all of that.
And how did you do that through social media?
Just posting on places, posting pictures that I took with other wrestlers, posting results. I created a website. Then it was cutting edge. Now anyone can do it.
So what are some philosophies you can share with us between like the classroom and the wrestling ring? Any similarities there?
Well, in China anyway, be prepared for anything at any time. The best laid plans of mice and men don't really. I just find that there's a lot of this culture is very reactive rather than proactive, and that's something that I need to get used to. even still after being here for 3 years. And it's the same thing with wrestling. Well, look at every poster you see, card subject to change. So you got to be prepared for anything.
Yeah, always bring your gear, right? So you never know when you're gonna get.
Well,
called up.
You keep hitting on things. You're doing very well here. I got myself booked on a lot of shows at the beginning because I showed up with my gear, uninvited. I showed up with video cameras. I got my just because I would record the matches for the promoter. And then I got invited back over and over again.
But in your case, your gear is this your teaching outfit. So you always have that on.
I wore more spandex back in those days.
Okay. Yeah. So what brought you to China, and how did you get in contact with the wrestling scene in China?
I had been in China maybe 6 to 8 months, closer to a year perhaps. And I was in contact with a promoter from New Jersey, DAWG, Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators or something, I don't know. And he sent me Seema's name and Adrian's name. And Adrian took a chance and gave me a chance to prove myself. And I hope that I've done him proud. I'll do whatever it takes to make the show a success, including anal Christmas tree. So whatever they ask, I do. I have no problem with that.
So was it the wrestling that brought you to China, or was it like teaching?
No. My teaching career was winding down. I was single again after 20 years. They were trying to phase all us older guys out because they didn't want to pay our high salaries anymore. And I was taking a Chinese course at a community college. I've always enjoyed the Asian culture. And I asked the teacher, I said, do you think, I was near Philadelphia then, do you think I could teach English to Chinese people in Philadelphia? And she told me, go to China. And within a month, I had a new job. I had all the paperwork, and I was teaching in China. And I've never been back since, and I have no plans of going back. I'll visit you in Vancouver.
There you go. That's good. Yeah, I mean, you guys have an advantage when it comes to tutoring. Like, I think some people offered me a tutoring job, but like just because I'm Asian, they're like they don't pay as well versus like a foreigner.
Yeah, and there's a lot of inequalities here, and that's a big one.
Yeah,
the Chinese teachers do 3 times the work as I do, and I get 3 times the salary.
Yes, the inequalities of life, but that's okay. That's why I'm in Vancouver. So, what can you tell me about the wrestling scene in China, and what can you say some of the biggest differences between working in the United States and working a show in China?
Well, the audience is the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. I was just watching your interview with Crystal, and she was mentioning some of the similarities as well and the differences as well with the audiences. The audiences here are more quiet. They don't know what to expect, especially lately because we've done some mall shows. So in a shopping mall, they're not as familiar with wrestling as someone who's buying a ticket, obviously. And they're polite. When I did my Michinoku driver, I did get some applause. But other than that, I was getting a lot of applause just for basic heat. They were appreciating that. More so than some of the hardcore stuff that was happening in some of the other matches, which was very surprising to me.
Alrighty, so we're gonna bring it back to the photo segment that we debuted last show. Is there any more questions for Steve here? Asking my PA. Aaron, again, what was your journey like from teaching to wrestling? Who were your biggest inspirations in each of these professions? Sorry.
Actually, in teaching, it was my social studies teacher in 10th grade. His father was a former baseball player. He was a football player. He was the football coach. And you could tell by looking at him that he was only teaching history to have the coaching position. He was a big, strong guy, and he let me be me and just do crazy stuff. I'm a juggler, believe it or not, and he let me an oral report I did on the economics of the 1820s, all while juggling, and he gave me an A+. The report made no sense, but just because I was willing to go out there and do something. And he used to call me Doc because he said I had all the answers, which was enjoyable to me. I like that. I like the extra attention. I wouldn't be a wrestler if I didn't like attention.
Did you juggle yet in your wrestling career?
Did I juggle wrestling?
Yeah, during a wrestling match
Not
or
yet.
whatever.
And with
Not
all
yet.
those doing, you think it would make sense, but I honestly just never thought of it. I do it in my classroom still, but
There you go.
wrestling
Next.
inspirations. Who were my wrestling? Well, like I said before, I've always been a fan of Snuka. I like Mick Foley because we are similar ages. We came from maybe 15 minutes apart in New York. Although now MJF lives in the next community over, if that's where he's really from. Don't know him. But I've always, believe it or not, I've always been inspired by the jobbers, the enhancement talent. I thought if I were ever to become a wrestler, which was definitely not a reality in my lifetime, that maybe I could be like one of those, a Johnny Rods or a Iron Mike Sharp or the Duke of Dorchester, all these Steve King, all these crazy little guys who never won. And I would have been happy doing that.
Awesome. All right, next hardcore match you got to juggle, okay? All right, from Harbin Kiwi, who would you like to work with in MKW who you haven't worked with yet? So you already mentioned Big Sam. Anyone else other than Big Sam?
Yeah, a few actually. I'd like to work with Cam Ferguson, definitely. Look forward to that opportunity. Who else have I not worked? I had a very brief appearance at Bash of the Bay with Jalapeno Lopez. If he can come back to China, I'd like to do something with him. I've never done anything with Uncle Money.
There you go, Uncle Money. You and him would be a great match. Any more questions? Adrian booked Steve a juggling segment on Blast Off. There you go. All right, I think that might be it. Oh, wait, no. Yao Chun, did COVID affect you much?
Yes. Oh my God. You might want to break out your tissues for this one. Wrestling wise and teaching wise. My last job when I was living in Yiwu in central China, my contract expired right when COVID first came out. So I didn't have a job. I had to leave my apartment because the lease ran out on that. And I couldn't leave the city because I had a new job waiting for me, but they wouldn't let me into the city. So I had nowhere to go for 2 weeks. So I ended up living in a boarding house in Shanghai for 2 weeks. And then I was finally able to come into Dalian, which is where I am now, quarantined for 14 days. My wife is still in Shanghai for another 2 more months. You were there?
Yep.
She's right next to me. 2 more months. She was stuck in Shanghai. We had to get the dogs transported. While all this was happening, I'm not getting paid. I have a mortgage and alimony back in America, which I almost lost the house. And then just when things finally started getting back to normal, Adrian books me on Blast Off, the first episode. And we have a mini outbreak here in Dalian. I can't leave the city once again, so I missed that show, which was about 2 months of television tapings. And then the last show that I did for another promotion, we're in a quarantine once again, where I am right now. And I got 4 COVID tests within a 6-day period because they kept changing the regulations. It went from it was valid for 14 days to valid for 7 days to valid for 72 hours, which I didn't find out until I got to the train station and they refused me entry. So the ticket attendant told me to go to a local hospital, get another test, but they refused to test me. So I called the promoter, said, look, I can't make this show. He said, I need you. I need a foreigner there. Take a taxi. I'll pay you. And I took a taxi for 3.5 hours to the show. But then he wanted me to, the day of the show, check into the hospital, get a COVID test. He was looking out for my safety. He wanted to make sure I could get home without any problem. And I was under the impression it takes 24 hours to get the test results, and it turns out I was right. And they decided to rush it. They kept me in the emergency room for 7 hours waiting for the test results. I got a little nervous at that point. So in the emergency room, I put on my gear. They released me. I took the taxi straight to the venue, walked into a full shopping mall. Show was halfway over. In my street clothes with my gimmick underneath, I grabbed the microphone out of the ring announcer's hand and you Chinese people, you tried to keep me away. You didn't want me here because you know how much better us Americans are than you, blah, 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 blah. They had no idea who I was. I could have been anybody. And then I get backstage. When's my match? Now. P.S. Never needed that last COVID test for anything. I left that city fine, got into my city fine. Nothing more than a health code, which everyone in China has.
Wow. So to answer Yao Chun's question, yes, it affected him quite a bit.
Yeah. And it's still affected. I haven't worked since December 24th.
Well, it's been a year for me. So other than these interview shows, hopefully things get back to normal. So now we're going to go on to I still don't know what to call it yet, but picture segments. Let me share the screen here. So basically, we're going to show some pictures from your social media, and then you can just comment or, tell me what the experience was. Where did it go? Here we go. First picture. It's working. There we go. Okay, so you are eating a skewer of some sort of meat. I'm not sure what it is. What are you eating there?
That is either crickets or grasshoppers or locusts, barbecued.
On a skewer.
Yep. That's at a outdoor market in Yiwu, China. The more bizarre something is, that's what I want to order. I've always been that way.
How did it taste?
Crunchy.
Crunchy.
And I'm very concerned about my protein intake, so that was a good thing.
Well, the insects are actually higher in protein, right?
Well, I know crickets are a good source of protein.
I don't know. Is there scorpions in China? Have you tried those?
I've had scorpion. I've had spider. What else have I had? Whatever insect they'll throw on the grill, I'll eat.
So scorpion, spider, and grasshopper. Which one's your favorite?
The locust I think was the best tasting.
Yeah. Okay.
The silkworm was kind of rough. That one was very liquidy inside.
So was there any side effects afterwards? Did you have the severe diarrhea or something? Did you throw up or?
I've always had an iron constitution. Things that affect other people just don't affect me. And I don't know why. When I was teaching in America, I would have a cup of coffee on Friday afternoon, leave it on my desk, come in Monday morning. I'd go to drink it, and my students, no. And I would just drink it. It was never a problem. I didn't care if the milk was sitting in there 3 days. I don't know how, but I've always been that way.
Wow. I'm the reverse. I get a weak stomach.
I worked in a liquor store for 25 years, and they offered me $100 if I would drink out of a beer bottle that was up in the rafters for over 20 years. I told them, keep the money.
Good choice, sir. All right, next photo. Hold on a second. Is it not working again? All right. Sorry, let me load it up again. Oh wait. All right, let me go all the way back. All right, let's go with this one. Okay, here we go. This one. What are you doing there? You're doing some sort of pose, Steve the Teacher.
I actually just wanted this was after the show. It was my second match in Long Island Wrestling Federation, LIWF, and I was unhappy about something, and I just wanted to go home, and they were just keeping me for pictures. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Too bad you can't see the back of that shirt. I had it. What's the term? When they it's all painted up with a big apple. Very graphic. It was pretty cool, actually.
It's your Simon Diamond pose here, I guess.
Yeah, I actually worked with him for one night. I worked in a federation, JCW, Jersey Championship Wrestling, not Juggalo Championship.
Not
Wrestling.
Juggalo.
And he was the booker there, and they made me Steve the Professor. And he took a special interest in me, and he we went backstage, and he was trying to help me get through a very difficult promo for me. It must have taken like 15 takes, which is not like me. I'm usually a one-take guy. So that was maybe I was just overwhelmed by his fame at that point.
All right, next photo. Snuka splash, and I'm assuming that's you there. I can't tell, but
that's me. Yeah,
I'm assuming that's you.
That hurt. That hurt a lot.
And you only wrestled Snuka one time, or?
Just the one time, and actually, just coincidentally, that was pretty much his last match. He had to go in for surgery, so I was referred to as a legend killer for in one federation for a period of time. I wrestled him, Volkov, a few others. I never won, so I don't know why I got to be the legend killer. I was always killed by the legends. But other than he did on Raw with they did like some kind of reunion show where they had all these old guys go after Rob Conway, and that was the only other time that Snuka ever did that splash to anyone. After that, he charges an extra $100 for that,
Oh, just for a splash?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, doesn't charge anymore, but
rest in peace to him. Next one. Photo of a cat. And is that Black Mamba? Black Mamba, right?
Yeah, I believe that was the first show. Mamba and I are developing quite the feud here. We've had 3 matches now, or 3 situations.
Why are you showing a picture of a cat?
He needs to learn English. His English is pretty poor, and I'm just the guy to teach him. I got to do my job. It was cat, dog, and bird. A year later, I held up the bird flashcard. He remembered it. Good job, Mamba.
I'll give you a picture of my cat when we get off. Yeah. All right, next one. What's going on here? I'm not even sure.
That was the show in Anshan with the other promotion. Shared a lot of the same talent. You can see Mamba's there. Poseidon, Saga, Aegon, Wang Tao, DC Chen, and I'm the only non-Asian there. And that was because of all the COVID situation. I was the only one who was able to make it. I'm going to pat myself on the back for this one. I really tried harder than anyone to make it to that show, and I wasn't going to give up. And I still get appreciation from them.
Tell me about the traveling for the show. Were you in a taxi, drove, or what'd you do?
I took a taxi there after being refused entry to the train. And then I was able to take the train back completely incident-free.
Good job. All right, next one. Christmas tree incident.
Yeah. Yeah, if Big Sam's boy, Troy Hack, is watching, he will not let me forget this moment. Every post on WeChat or Facebook, yep, there we go. Every chat on Facebook or WeChat is how's the Christmas tree? How's the Christmas tree?
So tell us, for people that didn't watch this match, what happened here?
There was a four-way match going on at Bash of the Bay 2 in Shenzhen, and I felt that some education would be advisable at that time, so I did a run-in on the match, and a rather muscular Chinese gentleman by the name of Sonny gave me a German suplex, and then Voodoo here threw me into the corner and impaled me with a Christmas tree before unceremoniously throwing me outside to the concrete below.
So how did that feel? And are you still getting pine out of your butt?
Voodoo has the precision of a proctologist, so I have no long-term effects.
Only when you pull it back out, I guess. All right. Next photo here. Snapcustoms.com. Steve the Teacher action figure. Looks kind of like Chris Canyon.
I believe that one was a combination of Al Snow and Ric Flair. One of my fans in MKW believes that I'm quite the big deal because a toy company decided to make an action figure of me, and I don't have the heart to tell him that some fan just paid some little company on the internet $35, and they'll do it for anyone if you give them a picture. So don't tell him.
Don't tell him. Hope he's not watching. $35. That's not a bad deal. Maybe I'll do that too. All right, next one. Oh yeah, it's the last one. All right, that it is all for the picture segment. Back to this. We are wrapping up here. Thank you everybody for watching MKW Chinese Wrestling Sit Down on Facebook and YouTube. Any more questions? Keep them coming because we are at the tail end. Boofa. Hey yo.
Boofa.
Big Sam. Which 3 MKW wrestlers would you select to be on your Survivor Series team?
3. Oh wow. Well, I would definitely pick is Poseidon because, as you know, Big Sam, he's still alive. So that's an inside joke, by the way. Oh, and again, Cam looks like he's been through the apocalypse, so I think that he's a survivor as well. Mm-hmm. The third one, probably DC Chen. Mm. He's a pretty boy, and I could throw him in to the legions of people attacking us, protect myself.
All right, you 4 against the stable plus Chairman Al.
That would be interesting as well. Yeah.
All right, next. Any more questions? Harbin Kiwi, did you miss the days when the matches were mostly called in the ring? It's a good question.
That is a good question. And for me, yes, because I have a very bad memory. I've had 6 diagnosed concussions. So anyone who's been in the locker room with me knows, they'll tell you, I approach them every 5 minutes. What are we going to do next? What happens next? So all I really want to know is how we start, how we do the turnaround, what the finish is, and are you going to do anything that I've never seen before? Other than I don't want to know.
Like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, that I'd like to know in advance, yes. But if you're going to do some kind of flippy thing at me where I need to be in a certain position, that I would like to know. But like when people tell me, come at me and you're going to give me a clothesline, I'm coming at you the same way, whether you're giving me a clothesline, whether you're giving me a shoulder tackle, whether you're giving me a boot, because that's the way I was trained. You just, when the guy throws you off the rope, you just come straight at him. Whatever you throw, you throw.
From Aaron, And MKW, if MKW wants to bring back Steve the Teacher action figure, I would buy 5.
Well, that would be MKW's choice. I did my merchandising back in the day. I had my class in session T-shirts with the South Park character that said "Flunk You" on the back, and it was more effort than it was worth. And especially with those concussions that I mentioned, I sold more merchandise on nights that I got concussions, and I have no idea who bought them. I have no idea who put the money in my pocket. But I always walked home with a lot more money when I had a concussion.
What a coincidence that is. From Greg, which MKW wrestler is the most in need of ESL Steve's ESL lessons?
Curry. Yeah. Even Jalapeno laughs at his English. Chinese-wise, I would say I'm still got to do some work with Mamba yet.
Mamba.
It seems like a lot of the wrestlers know pieces of English. So in order to successfully call a match, I need to talk to one person for a few moves, then go on to Saga, and he'll fill in the rest. And then I'll go to one of the refs. One person can't do the whole thing.
Lost in translation. It's safe to say that Mamba's probably never watched one of my shows then.
On the other hand, though, I would say that the best Chinese-speaking wrestler of English from the Chinese roster would be Poseidon.
There you go, Poseidon. Good job. Any more questions? Yeah. Yao Chun Kid, the final exam, the Superintendent Plex Summer School Stunner, very cool finisher name. Is that actually the finisher? That's the name you came up with?
Well, the final exam is my double underhook face plant.
Mm-hmm.
The Superintendent Plex is my Superplex, obviously. Summer School Stunner is my Steve Austin Stunner. But now I have also the Discipline Driver, which is a Michinoku driver. The Detention Driver. See, I don't even remember my own name. And I'm working on a DVD driver that I want to use as well. Maybe I'll debut that. And I also have a Power Slam that I would like to bring back. I haven't done that in years.
Mm.
Oh, oh my God.
The boombox is upset hearing that.
I tolerate Boofa, but I love the boombox. And he knows that. That's no secret.
All right. Aaron, as a teacher of language, do you yourself know any other languages?
Today, I hit day 298 on Duolingo, Chinese, straight days, 298 straight days. I did take Italian in high school, which is very close to Spanish, so I can understand some. My wife is from the Philippines, so that's my next language that I'm going to attack.
So can you say anything in Chinese for our fans here, in case they're watching?
Say anything or?
Well, nothing offensive, hopefully, but I know the swear words are usually the ones that people learn them first, but what can you say in Mandarin?
I'm a teacher. I'm sophisticated. So the first thing I learned was Wa Hen Gao Xing Ren Xi Ni.
So nice to meet you, I guess. Is that what it is?
It's nice to meet you. And then
takes me a few seconds to translate that.
Shisho Jian Zai Nali. Where's the bathroom?
Where's the bathroom? It's pretty good. Does Steve, the ESL teacher, think pineapple should be on a pizza?
Definitely not. Definitely not. And we actually
come on.
they snuck one in last night at the bar we were at. I didn't know what a supreme pizza included, and there was pineapple on there.
Well, I guess the Americans and whoever doesn't like Hawaiian pizzas. Aaron, nice to meet you too, Steve. There you go. All right. Any more questions for Mike? Are you going into managing?
I have managed at certain points. I managed one time Rob Echoes, who became Robbie E. who is now Robert Stone, I
Robert
believe.
Stone, yeah.
I managed him. I managed Reckless Youth at one point. He was a big guy in the indie circuit before the internet took off. He was like the next big guy to go to the Federation that never happened. But he's definitely legendary. I have no problem managing. But having the wrestling background, if there's some kind of injustice going on, I'm getting in that ring. You better be sure of that. I have no problem getting physical. At 54 years old.
Some crying smiley faces from Bufa. All right, any more questions? I guess that is it. Just another question from me. You being a teacher, do you use any teacher props in for your gimmick, like rulers, maybe those chalk brushes, chalk?
I have used just about everything. I used to come in with a big English textbook, and in fact, in that Billy Gunn match, I hit him with it as well. But I've hit a lot of people with it. I stopped carrying it when a wrestler by the name of Braden Shocker wrestled the book out of my hands and hit me with it. And then I realized, wow, this really hurts. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this to people. I've used erasers that are loaded with chalk dust to do a Mr. Fuji bit. I've used blackboards that unfortunately I've had blackboards smashed over my head. The old slate blackboards also can get pretty sharp. They hurt. Clipboards. I used to come in with a clipboard. I actually busted myself open the hard way with a clipboard before a match even started once. As I was coming through the ropes, the lights went out, and I accidentally cut myself with the metal ring on the clipboard. And I was bleeding even before my name was introduced. And in that state, bleeding was illegal, so that created a problem.
Well, hopefully the commissioner wasn't there. Well, Steve, thank you very much for being on Chinese Wrestling Sit Down. Oh, sorry, do you have any final words? Oh, another question here. What was it like wrestling like in the 60s?
You mean in the 1960s or when I turned 60? Which one are you referring to, Greg? I have wrestled people who have wrestled in the 1960s. I joined the I'm reading the comment. I'm sorry. I wrestled Nikolai Volkov, who was around in the 60s. All
right, Greg, you got to clarify your question.
Flat Earth
Harbin Kiwi's asking, would you join a Flat Earth FEF?
If there's education involved, I'm always willing to listen.
Is the Earth flat? How about a question of that?
According to my research right now, I'm just going to have to disagree with that. I never stop learning.
There you go. Probably no FEF for you. Steve, do you still have merchandise website? If so, where can we find it?
Well, I appreciate the question, Aaron. Thank you. No. I used to sell everything from mini clipboards, pens, mugs, T-shirts, and ever since I came to China, I mean, just to get that recreated would be more of a hassle than anything else. And it took up a lot of time and energy. And
I would figure it'd be a lot cheaper in China.
I'm sorry?
You'd produce a lot more in China, couldn't you? I thought it would be like cheaper just to produce something in China, like some shirts.
True. I just guess I don't have the right connections just yet. But it's hard enough lugging my suitcases around to these different cities, so I'm not going to worry about getting through the airport. To get through the airport with my protein powder is always a dramatic scene. So.
And yes, if you want to check out Steve on YouTube, forgot to mention the social media stuff. Your YouTube is Steve the Teacher.
On there, not a lot. More old matches. A lot of them, I do have to warn you, were not put there by me. They were put there by fans or other wrestlers. So some of the matches there are not my first choice. And I really have.
Is the snooker match in there?
I'm sorry?
Is the snooker match in there? Jimmy Snuka, is the match in there? Is the Jimmy Snuka match with you in there in YouTube?
No. I don't believe any of those matches. The Snuka match is not there. The Billy Gunn match I do have saved off of YouTube. I just have to figure out how to get it there. But those were long matches. I mean, they wanted to get their money's worth with these celebrities. So those are like almost 30 minutes. And I have a hard time watching it. So I think you guys might have a hard time watching it too.
All right, make sure you guys check out Steve's YouTube. Make sure you check out his YouTube, and if you like me, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Leung. And of course, whoops, wrong one. This one. Sorry, it's early in the morning for me. Here we go. Is this the right one? There you go. Make sure you guys check out Middle Kingdom Wrestling on Facebook and YouTube. Facebook and Instagram is MKW China. YouTube is Middle Kingdom Wrestling, and Twitter is MKW Wrestling, and of course, MiddleKingdomWrestling.com. Make sure you check out our social media. Any more questions? If not, we'll be wrapping up. From Greg, which MKW wrestlers is the naughtiest? Probably Voodoo.
Absolutely. I have no doubt. No doubt.
Voodoo. Okay.
I wish it were
right.
Marie, but it's not the case.
All right. I guess that is it. Steve, the teacher, the ESL teacher, thank you for joining us here on Chinese Wrestling Sit Down. Thank you, everybody, for watching live and sending in your questions. We will be back in a couple of weeks with another guest. Steve, brother, take care.
Right.
You have a good night. I know it's late over there.
Let me just say my
sleep tight.
My
okay?
catchphrase, if I may. Class dismissed.
Go ahead. Dismiss. All right.